Dear child, you keep checking to see what they will do next. Checking the message. Checking the silence. Checking the signs for who will speak first, who will pull away first, who will protect themselves first. Dear heart, this has become more exhausting than you admit. You are not only hurt, you are tense. You are trying to stay one move ahead so you do not get caught in another disappointment. Part of you thinks, if I act first, I will not be the one left waiting. Part of you thinks, if I say it first, I can control the pain. Part of you fears that if you do not move now, someone else will decide the shape of this without you. Beloved, come closer for a moment. There is wisdom in timely action, but there is also fear that disguises itself as urgency. I want to help you tell the difference. Precious one, the pressure you feel to be first is not always guidance. Sometimes it is the wound speaking. Sometimes it is the old ache of being left behind, overlooked, or powerless. Sometimes it is your heart trying to protect itself by seizing control before vulnerability has another chance to touch you. That reaction makes sense, but sense-making is not the same as surrendering your next move to it. My child, there are moments when swift action matters. A needed boundary, a truth that should not wait, a practical response that prevents deeper harm. But this moment is not asking you to race another person for emotional survival. It is asking you to become honest before fear chooses for you. Loved one, you have been living as though the one who moves first wins. Wins dignity, wins clarity, wins protection, wins the right to feel less. But relationships, choices, and endings are not always healed by being first. Sometimes being first only means you acted from panic before your deeper wisdom could speak. Sweet soul, hear me gently. If you rush now only to outrun what they might do, you may build your choice around them instead of around truth. And choices built around fear of another person rarely bring the peace you are longing for. Dear heart, the real question is not, what will they do if I wait? The real question is, what is true for you whether they move or not? That is where your steadiness lives. Not in winning the moment, not in beating them to silence, not in sending the sharper message, not in closing the door before they can touch the handle, but in being rooted enough to act from clarity, not reaction. Beloved, you have felt this before. The urge to speak first so you cannot be rejected first. The urge to end it first so you do not have to feel abandoned. The urge to withdraw first so no one sees how much you care. The urge to make a sudden move because waiting feels too exposed. I know, but these are often the reflexes of an unhealed bruise, not the voice of wisdom. Precious one, I am not telling you to stay passive. I am not telling you to ignore what is happening. I am not telling you to remain vulnerable to confusion, dishonesty, or disrespect. I am telling you not to build your next step on the fear of being second. There is a cleaner way, dear one. What if your strength did not depend on going first? What if your dignity did not depend on controlling the timing? What if peace came not from getting ahead, but from being aligned? This may feel unfamiliar, because fear has trained you to think that speed is safety. But speed is not always safety. Sometimes speed simply keeps you from feeling long enough to know what is true. Loved one, you are standing at a crossroads within. One path says move now before they can hurt you. The other says, be still long enough to hear what is yours to do. The first path feels powerful quickly. The second path builds peace deeply. Choose the deeper peace. Beloved, another person's timing does not define your worth. If they delay, your worth remains. If they pull back, your worth remains. If they fail to speak clearly, your worth remains. If they choose poorly, your worth remains. This matters, because when you forget it, you start making rushed decisions to protect an identity that was never actually in their hands. Dear heart, some of your urgency comes from old places. Places where being chosen late felt like rejection. Places where silence felt like danger. Places where uncertainty felt unbearable because you had already learned how much indecision can wound. Be tender with those places, but do not let them steer tonight. Sweet soul, there may indeed be something that needs doing. A clear boundary, a step back, a direct conversation, a decision to stop waiting for someone who is not meeting you honestly. But if that is what is needed, it will still be needed when your pulse softens. Truth does not become true only if spoken in a rush. What is real can survive one pause for discernment. My child, I want to free you from the false contest inside your mind. This is not a race for control. This is not a contest for who can care less. This is not a game where the least vulnerable person wins. That whole way of relating has already cost you enough. You were made for cleaner ground. Loved one, if someone is unclear, you may choose clarity. If someone is inconsistent, you may choose steadiness. If someone is withholding, you may choose honesty. If someone is retreating, you may choose self-respect. But choose these things because they are true, not because you are trying to beat them to the moment. That difference is everything. Precious one, the need beneath your urgency is understandable. You need safety. You need dignity. You need not to feel trapped in someone else's indecision. Those needs are real, but they are not met best through panic. They are met through grounded truth. Grounded truth may still move quickly, yes, but it moves cleanly, not frantically. My dear one, you do not need to become cold to become safe. You do not need to become distant to become clear. You do not need to strike first to keep your heart intact. You only need to stop abandoning yourself while waiting for another person to reveal their intentions. That is the deeper issue. Beloved, while you are watching them, have you forgotten to listen to yourself? Have you forgotten how strained you feel? How often this leaves you anxious? How much of your energy has been spent interpreting, anticipating, and preparing? What if the answer is not only about what they will do? What if the answer is also about what this uncertainty is already doing to you? Dear heart, that question brings you back to your own center. And from your own center, the next step becomes clearer. Not necessarily easier, but clearer. You may realize you do not want to keep living in suspense. You may realize you have already received enough information through inconsistency. You may realize that your peace has been waiting for your honesty, not their next move. Sweet soul, if honesty leads you to speak, then speak plainly. If honesty leads you to step back, then step back cleanly. If honesty leads you to stop chasing clarity from someone committed to confusion, then release yourself from that chase. But do not act merely to outrun hurt. Act because truth has become clear enough. My child, you have more power than fear says. Not power to control others, power to remain aligned even when others are not. Power to choose dignity without performance. Power to make decisions without becoming cruel. Power to honor your own peace without demanding that someone else finally validate it first. That is real strength. Loved one, sometimes the most healing act is not speaking first. It is refusing to keep entering the dance of anxiety and reaction. Sometimes peace begins when you stop treating every delay as an emergency. Sometimes dignity returns when you stop trying to manage another person's unreadiness. Sometimes clarity arrives when you simply admit, this dynamic is costing me too much. Beloved, that admission can be the turning point. Not because it solves everything, but because it ends the fantasy that if you just time things right, you can make uncertainty feel safe. Uncertainty is still uncertainty, and if it is harming you, that matters. Dear heart, you are allowed to make a steady move for your own well-being. Not because you are trying to win, not because you are trying to punish, not because you are trying to seem unaffected, but because your heart deserves cleaner air than this. A river does not rush because another river might get there first. It moves by its own course. Let your next step be like that. Not competitive, not frantic, simply true to the course I am shaping in you. Precious one, you have lived long enough under the belief that being ahead is the same as being safe. I want to teach you another safety. the safety of inner coherence, the safety of not violating your own wisdom, the safety of not making yourself smaller just to keep connection, the safety of not building your choices on someone else's unpredictability. This safety runs deeper than speed. My dear one, if tonight you need one simple anchor, take this. You do not need to hurry to preserve your value. You do not need to rush to preserve your dignity. You do not need to be first to remain beloved, clear, or strong. These things are not awarded to the quickest one. They grow in the honest one. Dear one, maybe the next step is still soon. Maybe a conversation does need to happen. Maybe a line does need to be drawn. Maybe a goodbye does need to be accepted. Maybe waiting really has come to its end. But if so, let it arise from settled truth, not racing fear. That way, whatever comes after, your spirit will know it was not abandoned by its own hand. Sweet soul, I am near you in this tender tension. Near when your mind tries to predict everything. Near when your chest tightens at the thought of being left behind. Near when old wounds try to write the next chapter for you. Near when you return to your own center again. Beloved, rest for a moment before any move. The answer you need is not hidden in who speaks first. It is waiting where honesty, self-respect, and peace meet each other quietly. Stay there. Listen there. Move from there. And when you do, you will not need to wonder whether fear pushed you ahead. You will know that truth carried you. So set down the race in your mind. Leave the contest of control. Come into stillness for a little while. I am with you, steadying what trembles, until the next step becomes clean enough for your heart to take. And after that step, whether it is speech, silence, distance, or clarity, I remain here, gentle and watchful, keeping your spirit close to peace. Amen. Beloved family, we are grateful to continue sharing messages of faith and encouragement with you. This ministry moves forward through prayer, dedication, and your support. If you feel led to support this mission, the support link is available in the description and in the comment box below. May God's favor rest upon you and your family.